The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Monday in the Riv.
Yep, and I have an announcement for our sister station, Fall River Government Television and Fall River Educational TV. Their on-demand system is offline. And it's been offline for some time now. People are asking where they can watch different governmental meetings, licensing board, city council, and whatnot. I guess they're making some of them available on YouTube, so you're going to kind of have to look for them somewhere. But there are ways to get those videos, even though they're not on the video on demand system any longer, because that system is down currently, and they're working on getting it back up online.
Yeah, well, hopefully they'll get it back because, you know, people should avail themselves of that great opportunity to watch some of these boards in action.
Yeah.
And make sure you stock up on your Pepto.
Exactly.
Before you watch. Well, you know, we got so many things to talk about. We've got Tim McCoy and Zachary Borges took out nomination papers for election.
And
now, McCoy's a city employee, so we've got two people running for school committee, or, you know, candidates or potential candidates. They haven't actually gotten all the signatures, who now are in direct conflict with the charter. So,
well, currently Tim McCoy is a procurement officer for the Fall River Housing Authority. He is not exempt under the charter. The Housing Authority is a separate legal entity. Even though their board is appointed by the mayor, they are separate from the city of Fall River.
yeah, well,
That's why they have their own budget.
I'm not sure if somebody would contest that because...
And you know what? That may be a good point to contest from Joshua
You know, because
Hetzler.
they are in the system. They avail themselves of the Fall River retirement system.
But that's by a special act of legislation.
Right, but but you know, as far it really, that's, again, we get into these ridiculously, you know, myopic kinds of interpretations of because you could make a case that he shouldn't be eligible.
Right.
And so could
Josh Hetzler.
Josh Hetzler, because he is a de facto city employee.
Right.
So but those arguments are, look.
Those are for the lawyers.
And you know, that's what disturbs me about with the law. The law is just not simple. If you shoot 28 people in McDonald's, you're guilty, and everybody saw you. But it's like, well, there's this interpretation. You didn't get Mirandized. The guy had one word out. There was a number off in the search warrant, so you acquit somebody that's a mass murderer. You know, they can say what they want, but the reality is I do not believe that that's not what our judicial system was created to be.
No, definitely not.
That was created by the attorneys.
Right. It keeps them working.
It keeps them working, exactly, because everything becomes these ridiculously over finite kind of interpretations on every little word, semantic debates. But this is going to be interesting. I mean, I think that, number one, I'm extremely disappointed in the people. You know, everybody complains, then nobody votes, and nobody even runs for office. So you can't, you can only complain about the city if you vote.
Yeah.
And if you really want to affect the council, you know, a few of these people should run, especially some of these people who are activists in certain areas. Like, I know we had a lot of problems with, and that thing resurrected itself, the LNG thing. So the people who were really adamant about stopping LNG, and they did, I mean, you would assume that some of these people might try to get on the council again to get themselves in a position where they could have a bully pulpit to make sure that.
But you know, here's part of the problem. Part of the problem is people get sick and tired of trying to run for office because the election, you know, is costly, it's time consuming, And when you can't see the potential of winning a seat on the city council, the school committee, or even the seat of the mayor, because people keep voting for the same people. And they just like to complain about who's in office, but they don't do anything to change it. You know, I firmly believe that every 2 years there should be a whole new city council, all 9. That's it. And where the charter failed is because Mike Mioza did not want to put term limits on elected officials. And that should have been the first thing he did.
Well, I agree, but that's one of the problems with the entire system we have. People complain a lot, but they don't do anything about it. I can understand the frustration of people, because if you get on the city council, you're 1 of 9 votes. You have to have a majority to affect any kind of change. And I cannot remember, and I go back a long way, I cannot remember a time, maybe with 1 or 2 exceptions, where a mayor did not have at least a simple majority vote on the council.
Right.
They could virtually get anything they wanted. And even when they lost some votes, the real important stuff, they could negotiate their way in, give somebody something and let's make a deal, and they'd get. And that's one of the problems, because I can see the frustration. I wouldn't want to be on the city council, because no matter how much, and we've got our pulpit right here, but how many times have we talked about issues and we were right, but the taxpayer got screwed? We talked about the debt override for the school. We found now we didn't need it. We've talked about numerous issues. We talked about, we went all the way back to the lawsuit. Remember the lawsuit? Yep. When I
held up my phone and said, "I've got the decision."
I've got the decision, exactly. And what happened? They spent the taxpayers' money again. They lost, just as everybody except them knew that they were going to lose.
Right.
And as you said, then people complain, and they complain about their tax bills. But as you said, we have to. I was always against term limits. I always felt that you get what you get what you deserve. And if you can't get these people out, you deserve the kind of government you got. But I've changed, and you can say I'm selfish, but it's true. The minority of voters suffer and have suffered for years because the majority of voters are boobs.
Exactly.
And it's unfair, because there is a group of people who go to the polls and pay attention and listen and look at platforms and truly want a representative form of government. But the rest of the people don't even bother going, or they give you the old refrain, well, yeah, there's nothing you can do about it anyway. That's the way it is. Well, that's not the way it's supposed to be. And it disturbs me. It disturbs me. And just look at the field. I mean, we barely have enough people to fill the vacancies.
I know.
So you wonder why, if the incumbents aren't going to get in again, and you can complain about the same old, same old. So, hey,
and
that's what it is.
And look at it. We've got one person running for mayor. That's Paul Coogan.
So far.
Mayor Jay Correa has not taken out his papers.
Oh, no, wait a minute. I'm sorry, CJ. I don't mean to interrupt you, but you correct me, but I get calls, and sometimes I don't read. I was told that someone pulled papers for mayor.
I hadn't heard that yet.
Erica Scott?
No, Erica, according to the conversation I had with Erica, she wasn't going to pull them. But, I mean, she may have changed her mind.
Somebody said that she pulled papers. I believe one of our viewers called me. We get calls all the time. One of our viewers called me and said that somebody on WSAR said she had pulled papers.
Well, I mean,
we'll find it out.
Patrick Higgins, several other people had direct conversations with Erica Scott, and Erica turned around and made it very clear that she has to give this serious consideration, because this time she might, in fact, lose her current job posting if she runs for mayor.
And, you know, as we said, and I truly believe it, and I know Patrick was involved in her campaign, and She impressed some people. I think she's got some positions that a lot of people agree with. She's also, even if you don't agree, she's someone that's not afraid to speak her mind.
Right.
So I think she'd have a very good chance at the city council.
I believe she would too.
And it wouldn't take the kind of time and financial commitment, and it would also give her, the ability to be and have a forum so people could see her in action, and then she could later on, after people got to know her, maybe be a viable candidate for mayor. But look, that's her decision. We commended her on her run. She came here and she made a nice presentation, and she did impress some people. But to jump right into the mayor's position from being a virtual unknown is tough. I truly believe if she's considering running, she should really seriously consider the city council.
I think so too.
So.
I think so too.
Now, let's get back to that. Of course, we know Josh Hetzler. We'll stay on the same. We'll segue into Hetzler. He's looking for a lawyer, and he said he doesn't believe that. He'll believe the quote he made here. He says several thousand citizens would have their votes counted, but no, that's Macy. But I think Mr. Hetzler said. He said, essentially, I think it means it prohibited, that's wrong, to be a firefighter, but should I be elected? And it shouldn't be in the charter. And he's right. I do not believe, look, I mean, if we start on a charter, to me, there's virtually nothing right in the charter.
Exactly.
But basically, it's discrimination. It's discrimination. I can see them saying, well, look, you can't collect two salaries, pick a salary like they did years ago with Mr. Veloza, who was
Right.
a city councilor and a school teacher simultaneously. Yeah, I have no problem with saying pick one. And obviously, ethical issues, you have to recuse yourself of certain votes and
Right.
those other things that go along with it. But the reality is to prohibit an entire segment of the population because of the job that they have. What's next? If you don't like Walmart because they're a non-union, and we're going to prohibit them in the charter if you work for Walmart, or if you're a CEO or a janitor, that just doesn't make any sense in America. It says that this is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And if the people elect Joshua Hetzler, he should be allowed to represent the people who elected him. And it's just that simple.
But,
and to put that in the charter is absolutely disgusting.
But here's the thing. Hetzler said this very clearly. He wants to challenge the charter provision for himself and any other city worker who wants to run for local office. I think I'll keep my livelihood and support my family, which is a very, very direct statement that he's going to stay working as a firefighter if he can't, if he has to challenge this provision of the charter.
Well, I don't know what they'll do. I mean, if you read this article, I mean, fundamentally, it looks like, and as I said, we're making interpretations. I don't like to be a lawyer again. We're getting into the lawyer thing now. So what are they going to do according to Joe Macy's position? If he gets elected and he says, I'm going to continue to serve as a firefighter, are they going to terminate him? Is the city going to take action to remove him from a position?
We don't
Basically, give him walk up to him and say, you're in violation of the charter, you either resign from the school committee or resign from the fire department, or we'll terminate you. Pick one.
Right.
And what is he going to do then? Because obviously he's going to pick the fire department,
Right.
salary-wise,
And if that
that's
doesn't-
his livelihood also, and it's his career. He's chosen to be a public servant and represent the people. And I think this entire thing is absolutely it flies in the face of this government. This is supposed to be a republic, a representative form of government. And it is a representative of the people. And if the people elect Josh Hetzler or anybody else, that's what our Constitution in this state clearly states. The government is at all times answerable to the people. I don't know how this charter is even legal, that segment of the charter. And I don't think anybody, it may have to go to the Supreme Court of of Massachusetts, the SJC. I don't see how this case is winnable by the city. This charter is a disgrace. When we all know our favorite section of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Constitution, part of the first Section 5, the government are at all times agents of the people and they're substitutes and answerable to us at all time. That's the ultimate answer. An election. If this man is elected to the school committee, it's un-American. That charter is fundamentally un-American. It flies in the face of the you prohibited. You think that this charter wouldn't be in court already with the ACLU if they prohibited people by religion or color? They wouldn't dare do that. So how can you do that with a group of people who are employed by an entity? It's a government entity? Big deal. Big deal. The fact is I can see them about pay and obviously people are making that decision when they go to the polls. When you elect somebody to the city council or the school committee and they work for the city, those questions are always there. What can they vote on? Is there going to be a conflict of interest? And what they have to recuse themselves for. But if the people, the voters, make the decision that they're willing to accept this individual with the limitations that are imposed on them by their occupation and who employs them, well, they are the ultimate voice, according to our Constitution, according to our national Constitution, according to everything America was based on, the very foundation of America. This is supposed to be a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And when the people of the city of Fall River, if they choose to elect Josh Hetzler, he should occupy a seat on the school committee. And, that's just, to me, that's a slam dunk.
They'd be disenfranchising the voter if they didn't let him take his seat. That's the first thing.
Well, why bother? Right. They're only the voters.
But here's the issue that we have. We already have a decision rendered by a Superior Court judge that says these issues have to come before the election. If Josh is going to wait until after the election, he may get hit with that same decision, that this should have come up before the election. Therefore, there's nothing we can do about it now.
Well, yeah, but it all depends on what they plead, what they file a suit on. If they file a suit on constitutional grounds, I think that it gets on the constitutionality of that provision, not, if they should have done it before or after the election. Granted, the court may say, well, this is unconstitutional, but I don't think they're gonna. The Supreme Court. I can't believe that the Supreme Court of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts will render a decision that flies in the face of the Constitution. And I don't care when you file it. The fact is that if you say that the voters do not control the government in this Commonwealth, that decision has to be found null and void by the Supreme Court, because that's what our Constitution says. And it can't be any clearer. It cannot be any clearer. They not only say that there are agents, they say there are substitutes.
Right.
There are substitutes, and they are at all times answerable to us. How can any Supreme Court make a decision that allows a provision in a city charter to violate the very foundation of this state's constitution?
Well, the interesting thing is the Supreme Judicial Court is not going to render a decision right away. So even if this does go forward, and he's elected to the seat, they will potentially issue a stay where he can't take that seat until the court rules. That is a potential.
Well, of course.
So that's the reason why it is better to err on the side of caution and say this needs to happen before the election instead of after the election, because when you try after the election, you have a higher burden to reach.
No, I agree. But obviously, legal tactics, that's up to him. If it was me, I would have already started it.
Exactly.
I would have also tried to get the ACLU. I would have immediately I would have challenged the constitutionality of the charter as soon as the day after it passed. If I was going to seek public office and I was still a city employee, I would have challenged the constitutionality of it immediately. And I agree. I agree that it's better to get out of the gate quickly and because we know how slowly these courts, especially the SJC. So I agree, but the tactic obviously is up to the individual. It doesn't get down, but the bottom line is this, and shame on everybody on that charter commission except Commissioner Robillard for allowing this outrage to become part of the charter, this among many. But to me, this is the biggest outrage in his charter, because to take away an individual's right to be elected by the people and to also have the individual right to participate in his own government is just reprehensible.
I'll play devil's advocate. But the charter passed with a huge proportion of the votes. I mean, it was something like 80 or 90% of the vote. So the people already voted that that's the provision in the law. So how can you disenfranchise those voters?
Because the Constitution, as Joe Macy so aptly put it in the city council, the Constitution is the ultimate decider of the law. He said that in the council, and you and I were sitting in the chamber.
I remember that.
Because he said, the charter doesn't mean anything. It's the Constitution.
Right.
And by the Constitution, his opinion flies in the face of the Constitution. And by his own words, he said that is the ultimate. And I mean, look, the people, we just talked about the people and their ability to vote. You can, if the people decide to pass in the charter that it's legal in Massachusetts on the third Wednesday of February to murder anybody you dislike. They made a movie about that, I think, once, about they had one day a year that they could kill. Yeah. So if they did that, you think that would stand up in court? And you'd say, well, a vast majority of the people voted for it. No, that's ridiculous. And by our own corporation counsel's words, he stands convicted that his opinion doesn't hold water. He said the Constitution is the ultimate.
Yep, I agree. I agree.
There's my counter-argument.
There you go. No, and again, that's the best part about it. Point, counterpoint.
That's my counter-argument because, to me, that's it. The Constitution of this nation and the Constitution of this Commonwealth are at all times the final arbiter.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that we're talking about school committee because the Fall River School Committee tossed all the transportation bids, which I still say they have no idea what they're doing because they should hire a logistical company, a transportation logistics company which oversees all of it. Let them take the contract. Let them do the subcontracting to these buses and cab companies because there's no need for children to be taken to school by cab. None whatsoever.
Please, don't even get me started on that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're footing a bill for taxis. That is outrageous.
And that's because the school committee wants to keep every business employed. It's not our job to be an employment agency. If you don't get the contracts, oh well, too bad. You'll have to make cuts in your people. And that's the big thing. I know people don't want to hear that, but it's not the job of the city to get people employed. It's the job of the city to save the taxpayer money.
People should not be getting cabs anywhere.
That's right.
If the state wants to transport them, let the state create a transportation program. Let them like they do with the handicapped people. They call for a bus, they make an appointment, they tell them when they have an appointment, and they pick them up
And
and they
take them there.
transport them.
That's right.
As I told you, when I was up at Mass General for my procedure, I had a guy in my room from Fall River that got a cab from Fall River to Mass General.
Right.
A cab, a taxi cab. He signed out of Charlton and went to Mass General in a taxi, paid for by the, thank you very much, by the taxpayers of the. This is absurd. And then we look again. We look about taxpayers. Let's segue into the next one. But first I have to hit this one. Massachusetts illegal immigrant populations spikes, increase since '07, leads the nation. Yeah, bring them all in. Who's paying for all this? All the health care, all the crimes, everything else. The diseases they're bringing in, being unvaccinated illegals. And then the icing on that cake, taxpayer picked up Judge Joseph's $127,000 legal bill. This clown face that's been a judge for how long?
God only knows.
And that was appointed by some other liberal politicians, had an illegal who's violating the nation's immigration laws, allowed him to escape from ICE, helped him, aided and abetted a criminal. And she is a judge. She is sworn to uphold not only the laws, she has no right to impose her own. I don't care if you adopt them. You know, you let him get arrested, pay for his lawyer. If you can beat the rap, adopt him. Let him live with you. I don't want to pay a dime. I don't want to pay a penny of this $127,000. I don't want to pay a penny for somebody who came across the border illegally and is unvaccinated and has no regard for our laws.
That's it.
So, you know, that's it. Sorry. My grandparents on both sides came to this country legally. They got the crappiest jobs that were available because that's all they could get. And they made a life for themselves. And forgive me, I have no sympathy for these people because they do not care about our laws. Right off the bat, right out of the gate, as far as I'm concerned, they've lost their right to ever come into this country because they just went like this to the United States.
That's it.
You got a fence? You got laws? I'm not supposed to be here? Yeah? That way and that way. That's what they do. And you know something? Nobody gives a damn because you know what they are to them? Ooh, it's a voting issue. All the little people, and remember, Nancy Pelosi called the police when she had some on her front lawn.
So did Cher.
And so did Cher.
Yep. But they're a sanctuary, you know.
It's nice to have a double standard, and it's nice to be rich enough where these kind of things don't affect your life, but they do here. Didn't we have a couple? This is Fall River, where gang members on motorcycles can encircle your car and pistol whip a 60-year-old.
That's it. That's it. Hey, while we're still on taxes and stuff, sales tax holiday. We're getting it again.
Yeah, why?
August 17th and 18th is going to be the sales tax holiday.
Yeah, why? So they can get their pay regulars. And remember, Ocasio, who was AOC Cortez, says she's not being paid enough. She's been in there all of, 7 months?
Yeah.
And $175,000. I don't think she's making $175,000 as a bartender and getting free health care and a great retirement system, but she said it's an outrage. That's why she knows everybody becomes lobbyists, because they're worth so much more.
Yeah, right. We're all worth so much more.
And if you can't stay angry, we're going to be here all week this week, people.
Yeah, so don't be angry at us. We're going to be here.
We're going to be here. It's going to be a while before we have to take a day off, hopefully.
All right. Yeah, that won't come until July 15th, so we'll be fine. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you on Wednesday. And that's after the City Council budget hearings start, because those start tomorrow. So we're going to definitely get into some interesting discussion.
Yeah.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Yes, and stay super angry.